Marc Minichelllo joins us via Wyoming area and the University of Pennsylvania, and things are going as good as they could be for you. Let's talk about this past Javelin season for yourself.
Sure. So I just finished my freshman year at the University of Pennsylvania competing as a javelin thrower. The year couldn't have gone any better, I think. Although there has been a lot of ups and downs, I think all of them were for a reason. I think they've built a lot of character throughout the season. Being able to really push through adversity has been one of the keys in order to be able to see success through all the tough times.
Let's start with the first question, which is the academic jump from high school to college, and especially at a prestigious school such as the University of Pennsylvania. What was that adjustment like for you?
Sure. So I thought the adjustment from high school to college was a little difficult, but I didn't think it was unmanageable. I would tell everyone whenever I would come home for the weekend or anything that it was just a matter if you wanted to do it or not. The schoolwork, it was there. It wasn't slowing down or anything. It was just going to keep picking up. But as long as you were focused and willing to put in the work and actually take time out of your day, whether it be to study, watch extra videos, or do homework, you'd be fine. But there's people that obviously could get lost in the transition because there's so much freedom once you move away from home, go into a big city, that people get lost. But I think being part of the track team definitely kept my eyes looking forward and in check, so everything was able to work out.
Some people could look at it as an advantage or not, starting full bore in the fall with athletics, but still I'm sure there was some schedule for you in the fall as far as working out or throwing or lifting or whatever you were doing. So take us through the beginning part of as you headed in late August or September and got there and kind of got your feet wet both on the academic and the athletic end.
Sure. So the way University of Pennsylvania treats their freshmen is they bring them all in about a week before classes start for an orientation. We don't do it any time in the middle of the summer. It's just right before classes. So we get there, and that's our off week. We didn't do anything with track, but once classes started a week into school, we hit the ground running with practice. And I think that was one of the best things for me and the rest of the freshmen, because we were just put right on a schedule immediately as we got there. So we had a regimen that we had to follow, and by having that every day, it really didn't allow for us to do anything wrong, and we were always nearsighted of what we had to do that day, and then just push on to the next day and the next day and the next day, eventually being able to make it all the way through the season.
I'm sure you had a vision of how your freshman year was going to go, but I would think you exceeded what that vision was. Talk about throwing it out of the park with the javelin, what you were able to accomplish there.
Yeah. So my biggest goal going into the season was to compete for the conference championship. At Penn, they really placed a huge emphasis on the Ivy League championship, so that was something my coach and I really talked about being able to do. And as far as we knew, it was going to be a 2 or 3 man race between me, a kid from Princeton, and Dartmouth, and all of us had thrown very, very similarly the previous year, so it was just going to be who put in the extra time and effort in the off season to see who might be able to separate from the pack when it came May. And just by practicing to be the best in the Ivy League, I thought that I didn't want to let myself down, didn't want to let my coaches, my teammates down, so I was going to do everything that I could in my power to not lose. So whether that be stay a little extra after practice, do things outside of practice, I wanted to put myself in the situation so there was going to be no doubts on whether I gave it my all, and I knew the last thing I wanted to do was to lose by a short amount, because if I was to lose by, say, an inch or two, I would have definitely thought back and said, well, there's something that I could have done to get that extra inch or extra foot. So every practice, I practiced with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder saying, I don't want to let anything on the table. So by practicing and training that way, I think that it just benefited me greatly. I developed as a person, I developed athletically, so all of that piece by piece, putting everything together, allowed me to succeed much more than I could have ever imagined. And I think it's definitely just because of a crazy work ethic that they instilled on us at the university.
Obviously there's a physical presence about what you're able to do, abilities. But so much of the mental part that I think you're kind of talking about, of putting in the extra work and making sure you're doing all the right things. Talk a little bit about being such a strength for you, and how you feel like mentally you're just able to overachieve.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that my coach instilled in me this year was visualization. As soon as I got onto campus, he talked about these giant meets we were going to go to, Texas relays, possibly even making it to national championships by the time the season was over. And he said, you need to look forward to those meets like you're going to be there, like you're going to compete against the best people. He said, and imagine yourself belonging with them. So that's something that I really tried to do. Just whenever I was throwing, picture myself competing against the best or at a giant stadium. And I think that really, really helped by just believing is achieving. So
you've had some people around you, whether it's at Wyoming area, your Javelin coach, outside of that, but people at the University of Pennsylvania that keep pushing you and pushing you. Talk about some of those people in your life that just continue to bring out your best.
Yeah, so it was definitely climbing up the ladder. I started at Wyoming area and used all their resources as much as they can, and then eventually it came to the point where we wanted to further our knowledge in Javelin. So we went to the club level and picked my coach Barry Cromis's brain a little bit, and he taught me something eventually to push me onto the college level. And then the same thing, like every coach had something different to offer. I think Wyoming area, especially my coaches on the track team, were also my football coaches. I think that's where I really learned my work ethic and just how to deal with adversity, how to deal with challenges, because nothing was really easy there. So, and then the club level, I learned different things. That's where I learned, I think, how to be precise, how to really master little movements, and maybe if I wasn't mastering them, just continue to practice them and just take chips at it every single day. And then at the university, I think you just put everything together. So I learned some mental toughness, physical, made more of a physical presence, and then the visualization thing. I think being able to imagine myself succeeding and having other people work towards the same goals alongside me, I think that was a huge thing in becoming the thrower I am today.
We go back and talk about some high school meet. You throw a 157 or a 181. You go 216, 219, 253. I mean, these numbers just get crazy for you.
Yeah, it's funny because my mom and I were actually looking at medals the other day, just reminiscing about when I started throwing javelin, and I think one of the first medals I got for a meet was from Misericordia, and the mark was right around 160. And that could be give or take. I don't know if I'm exactly telling the truth, but to get almost 100 feet better in the course of 3 years is almost unheard of. But just looking at the path, it's just been so many ups and downs, learning so many different things from so many different people, and taking everything with a grain of salt, knowing that there's going to be challenges. So to see where I am today, I think it's really, really incredible.
Let's talk about now being on this national stage, and who knows, maybe knocking on the door of something even bigger.
Yeah, so just recently I competed at the United States Under 20 National Championships. I had the best meet of my life there. I ended up winning and becoming national champion, and that was incredible, just to really put myself on the national stage, compete against some of the best young people in the country. But along the way, there were two of the throwers who were pushing each other, and now both of us are atop the national list. I think we're 4th and 5th in the nation. So to look at it in that perspective, to be so young and have a national presence is really incredible, and I'm looking forward to keep raising the ceiling. I think that my potential is just being tapped a little bit. So I think with added knowledge and more help and excitement along the way, I think that it's going to be quite a road ahead, and hopefully I'll be able to keep going, continue to be a part of the United States team, make a presence at the University of Pennsylvania, and possibly maybe even have some Olympic shots.
Go back to that 116 thing you're saying, and being rewarded. Here we are with like a 253. That humble, that grounded part of you. Talk a little bit about, it doesn't seem like a whole lot's changed in a few years that I've been talking to you. Talk a little bit about just being that humble guy that you are, and just grinding in times when nobody's around, you're grinding.
Yeah, so one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Walter Payton, and it goes something like this: when you're good, you tell everyone; when you're great, people tell you. And I thought, when I heard that for the first time, it really clicked in my head. You know, there's no reason to tell people what you're doing. Eventually the results will speak for themselves, and I think I'm getting to the point where people are starting to see my achievements on social media and the internet and in the local papers, and I'm starting to get texts from people, calls from people, and it's really humbling just to know that people are following me. And then to be a small town kid from Northeast Pennsylvania, that's also another thing where it's just different, and to be able to grow up with like humble roots and everything, I think that it's really, really cool to see how long of a path I've went down to get where I'm at.
Well, you're still climbing, Mark.
Still climbing.
Congratulations, and we wish you the best going forward.
Thank you so much.